he's with the Krasner group, with Andrew Krasner. That's who he's with. He said it was Andrew Krasner that recommended Diana's husband to join to the group, to have him join the group. Because when he came from New York, was it from New York?
Yeah.
Yes, they came
Yeah,
from
when
the
he
city.
came from New York, you know, and they were looking for some cardiology doctors, he
She's
came
jealous.
and joined, and it was through, I don't know if there's anything good in there.
Oh, yeah.
These are coffee candy,
I had one already.
those are good. Anyway,
All your mom enjoys. We're sorry. We love them.
all I can say, that group that he's affiliated with, when I tell you, they all marched into my room after the operation and asked me how I felt, they went over me like a map, you understand? And before they would operate on me, because I didn't know never had met him, before they operated, I was interviewed by them. Can you imagine? I went into an office, I went into an office before I went into the hospital to get, what do they do before you get an they put you through that pre-op.
Pre-op,
Yeah,
sure.
and they did everything with the
Right.
heart. Well, I had to go for a pre-op, you understand? So before I went for the pre-op, I had to have an interview with the doctors that were considering whether they could give me that operation.
Right, you have to
Because
have that
I
final
was
okay.
90 years of age.
Right.
And they, so
It's like you have
there
all
were
these
5
checkpoints.
doctors that marched into the room.
You have to pass all these
And a
checkpoints.
couple of them were in scrubs, and a couple of them were dressed up. You weren't going out for dinner.
Yeah.
And they all sat down in different chairs, and I had Ronald Gachet in there, and Donald. I said, what are we having here, you know?
So, Marilyn,
What?
can I change the subject a second?
What?
Do you know the story
What?
about how my mom and dad met each other?
Yeah, Dad was working at Cappy as a bartender
In Long Beach.
in Long Beach. And the bar faced on Park Street. And bar faced on Park Street.
Isn't that cute?
And he was working at the bar, and it was during the summertime. All the New Yorkers, especially the young women, used to come down to Long Beach, because in Long Beach in those days, they used to parade on the boardwalk in evening gowns. And
Wow.
guys used to wear gorgeous, almost like tuxedos.
Wow.
You know, Long Beach, the Nassau Hotel was considered, and the Lido Hotel were just like what you would call like the Ritz-Carlton today, and you know, and going to Long Beach was like going to the Hamptons today. You understand?
Yeah.
People came to Long Beach that had money, especially after World War II. You know, a lot of German Jews used to come to Long Beach because they escaped out of Europe and they had money, you know. So the majority of Jewish people that came to Long Beach at that particular time, just around the war years, were German Jews.
Right.
Or you understand, or from the Rhineland, you know, around that, which was strictly German anyway. And they were former doctors and bankers and they all had money, and they all rented houses out in Long Beach, and they all rented apartments. Well, your mother was a daughter of a furrier. Her father had died when she was very young. He must have been I think his name was Jacob.
No,
Was
his name
it?
was Abraham.
Abraham? Or
I
who
was named after him.
Abraham, all right. He was a very young man.
He was 35 when he died, or
And
34.
He was very young.
Oh.
He died of a heart condition, wasn't it? No?
Cancer.
He died from cancer. I never knew that.
Yeah, he was. Both he and his daughter Joan, Selma,
Thelma.
died
Yeah,
on the
well,
operating
I was
table.
around when Thelma died. I was around, she went in for a gallbladder.
Yeah, I know. Let's go back to
All
when
right.
they meet.
So anyway, Abraham died very young. So, what was Grandma's name?
Molly.
Molly used to come out to Long Beach, and she used to bring Miriam and you.
Francis,
Yeah.
not me.
Oh, I keep on forgetting.
I
I'm
know.
not talking.
And we all
You're-
we all gained a
I
generation.
think, I think
Lost one.
I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, because Mom wore glasses similar to what you're wearing.
Right,
So, except she had rhinestones around.
right.
So anyway,
Mhm.
she used to come out and take an apartment. I don't know whether the name was the Royal Denali or something like that.
Mhm.
And Thelma used to come out with Arthur. Was it Arthur?
No, Arnold.
Arnold. I'm close.
Yeah, you are close.
I'm close. And they used to take an apartment, and they had a son. They had a son. So of course, all the girls used to come and look at your grandfather, because he was gorgeous.
And he was a lifeguard.
Well, he used to do a lot of things. He used to go out with the Guy Lombardo's sisters, and he used to be well known amongst all the theatrical people. And your mother and Aunt Thelma used to go dancing at the El Morocco. They used to go.
Well, the El Morocco was in the city, though, right?
Yeah, but they used to go dancing at the El Morocco. I got to fill in a couple of things. They used to go dancing at the El Morocco because that was the only place that used to rumba. Nobody else knew how to rumba except the people at the El Morocco. It was a gorgeous nightclub in New York. Anyway, Frances used to come into the bar with a couple of the women, and there was Jean behind the bar. So they used to have stools around they used to all sit around and glare at him. He was really
He was so
gorgeous
handsome.
looking. Remember, he was 6'1" about, He must have weighed.
He looked like
almost
Robert Taylor.
170 pounds, if that,
Yeah.
And he had, as you know, your grandfather had a pisk on him. He could talk anybody.
And he was a swimmer, so he had a swimmer's athletic body,
Lean,
He
he was
was
long.
Right.
gorgeous. He was gorgeous.
He had
And
to
then-
give the gab.
And then he was a lifeguard at the Lafayette Pool. You understand? First he was a lifeguard at the Lafayette, and he used to drag me along because my mother would say to him, Eugene, take Marilyn and show her how to swim. I said, oh my God. I remember as a kid, I said, oh no, I don't want to learn with him because he's too strict, Mom. I remember saying that to my mother. Oh, Mom, no. So he used to drag me to the Lafayette Pool. And this is the terrible thing that he used to do to me. I must have been about 4 or 5 years of age. 5 years of age. He used to drop pennies at the low end of the pool. And then he'd say, if you want to get that candy bar or that popsicle, you better dive down and get the money.
Oh, that's good.
Now, she is 17 years younger than my father.
16.
16. 16 years younger. So how old were you when you were doing this?
Well,
He's
he
20.
was about 21 years of
Yeah,
age.
he's like 21.
He was 21 years of age. And you figure I was about
5.
5. That's what I said.
Yep.
Yeah.
And no matter where Jean went, my mother could stick me with him, she did that.
Best babysitter.
But
I mean,
because my sister Elaine was no good. My sister Elaine used to take me to the beach and then forget that she was supposed to watch me. And she would go off with the boys,
oh my God.
and I
How
would
old was
walk
Elaine?
along. I was maybe.
Yeah, how old was Elaine?
How old was Elaine? Elaine was about 15, 16 years of age.
When you were born?
No,
Oh,
yeah,
it's like
she
when-
was 11 and a half.
11
old.
years,
When she's
okay.
5.
So here she is, she's about 15 or 16 years of age,
Yeah.
all right? And,
she doesn't
and
wanna hang out with
she
you.
was as cute as a button,
It's
you understand?
adorable.
She was this wide, and she was how tall? 5'2", 5'3", something like that. How big
Oh,
was
she's
my
Nora.
sister, right?
Right.
And,
She's Nora.
and she used to forget me
Yeah.
on the beach, okay? And there used to be all kinds of Italian families and German families that used to take their families and pack a big basket full of lunch, you know, and go to the beach, you understand? And of course, I'd be walking along with no escort, nothing. And I used to wander in, I could see them eating, and I used to sit myself down with the family, and they used to take care of me.
Oh.
And then she would
Adopted child.
realize that she didn't have me, and then go
Looking.
hysterical looking for me around on the beach, and you know, in the.
Oh,
She used to-
funny.
They have a picture of me in one of the books. I'm sitting in front of. They had underneath the boardwalk. They used to have ice cream, you know, place where you could buy ice cream and a hot dog, you know. There I am. There's a picture. Nobody from the family took the picture, but I'm sitting there eating an ice cream cone that somebody had bought for this poor little girl, and I'm sitting in there. I got short hair, blonde hair, because my mother swore that she was not going to let me get dark. So she used to put lemon juice.
They did the same to me. They did the
They used
same
to
to
put
me.
the lemon juice in the shampoo.
What?
And
Yes.
rinse it and rinse
Did the
it
same
to
thing
keep-
to me.
To keep my hair looking blonde. So there I am sitting on the beach with a boy type haircut, you know,
A bowl.
and blonde. And I'm wearing
Survival tactics.
I'm wearing a
I guess?
bathing suit of those days. It was like network up on the top and like regular little pants, you know, here. I'm sitting there with an ice cream, licking the ice cream cone, and that's what my sister would find me. And then they would take me home. Now,
That was your day.
Betty,
Well.
Betty got married when she was 18. She married Ira.
Right, I remember Aunt Betty.
All right.
Ira.
There was a big, my father still had money then,
Uh,
you understand, left over from, we were 18, it was just, we were just going into recession, just around that, 1938, you understand?
yeah.
It was just,
War years.
the
World War II years.
America was just going into recession, and
Oh,
Grandma,
wait a minute. In 29, there was a depression.
depression. Well, she got married in 1938.
It was still a depression. It was a long depression.
Well,
No.
my father still
Maybe
had a
the
little
war
bit.
made it.
He's had
20,
the store.
29 was the crash, right?
When?
1929 was the stock market
I don't
crash.
know where he got the money from. I don't know, but he gave her a beautiful
Well,
wedding.
wasn't there a war in between? I mean, the First World War was in the 30s, right?
A war where?
A war. There was a war, not
A
World War
in
One.
1939 is when we went to 1939, 1940, beginning. We went to war with
1941, you went to
Germany.
war. 1941, you went to war.
41?
Well, 41, you went to war
No,
with
Japan.
Japan.
No, 39. We
But
went
when
to
was
war
the
first
First
with-
World War?
Yeah,
I
I'm
think it's
sorry,
20.
it was
You
39.
gotta go back further.
No.
1939.
War.
Beginning of 1940. Yes, yeah. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. We
1914
went
to
to war.
1918.
I'll tell you when we went to war. December 7th, 1941.
That was World War II.
That's World War II. World War I was 14 to 18.
1914.
Yeah.
My father had just come over here from, let me see, he was born in 1890. Grandpa was born in 1890.
Yeah.
We don't know the exact date because they only knew it by, he was born near Shavuot. What month was Shavuot?
Mm.
Yeah, so we do know it was during the fall month. So it was either October or November he got.
Yeah.
Okay,
In
the depression was 1929 to 1933. That was the Great Depression.
Right.
When?
29 to
Yeah.
33. That was the Great Depression.
Well, he must have still had money in 38.
Amazing. He
I
was,
mean,
he was,
'cause
very, he was very frugal.
Because Betty got married at the synagogue in Temple Israel in Long Beach. Because I remember, because I was the flower girl.
Fancy spot.
I remember the picture of you as the flower girl.
I was the flower, and Stuart was the ring bearer. And the bridesmaids wore dark green velvet dresses, and my mother wore like a ruby colored dress in velvet.
How were we related to Stuart again? It was
Stuart Kaufman is Aunt Eve's son.
Right. Okay. That's right.
Okay?
He had
Yeah.
two sons,
That's right,
Stuart
Aunt
and Stanley.
Stuart and I were like brother and sister.
No, not Stanley. Stuart and
And I were like brother and sister.
what was Stuart's brother's name? Stanley.
Larry.
Larry.
We
Larry.
called him.
Where is?
Trouble.
What happened to Larry?
I think he got Alzheimer's and died.
He did die.
I think so. You'd have to ask Stanley. I think Stanley knows better than I.
Handsome man.
Stuart was great. He
Yeah.
was like Johnny Cash.
Mm.
He was just like Johnny Cash. He loved Johnny Cash's music and he dressed like Johnny Cash.
Yeah, he looks like
He's like Johnny.
kind of looks like him too.
It was during the era of Elvis Presley,
Yeah.
Johnny Cash.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah. I see his look.
And
It's a good look.
Stuart and I, there was only a difference of maybe 2 years, approximately 2 years. I was the oldest and he was a little younger than I. But we were like that. You gotta remember, my siblings, my brother and sisters, were all so much older. So when Aunt Eve had children, when she used to push me around in a buggy in Long Beach, everybody and my Aunt Eve was a gorgeous looking young woman. She was called a redhead. She was a redhead at Macy's. She was a model in Macy's.
She was really a redhead, Aunt Eve?
Yeah, no, they called them the redheads because that was Macy's color. Everything was red.
Uh-huh.
And so they called the models the redheads. So she was one of the few Jewish girls that were asked to model like riding outfits, what women should wear, horseback riding, and what they should wear skiing.
Nice.
And she was a gorgeous looking woman,
Yes.
And she was a couple of years younger than Grandma Kate. Understand? When Uncle Irv used to come over to the house, to Grandpa's house on Riverside Boulevard, my mother used to throw him out of the house.
What?
Yeah, she did because they didn't want her marrying a guy that was from Brooklyn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Uncle.
What is that, a borough racist?
You're
They
Burles?
were
You know,
They were
Brooklyn.
from like Coney Island, you know?
Yeah.
And that was
The
the
classiest place.
That was the poor section of Brooklyn, you know, Flatbush, you know? And Grandma Kate was a snob. She really was. When it came to serve, she didn't want me to marry Alan because he was a poor boy. They had somebody picked out for me, you know. And it was the same thing with my father. When Grandpa Sam met my mom, and it was his only girlfriend. He fell in love with her over the counter. He owned a delicatessen, and she used to come in from the butcher
We have a
shop.
lot of over-the-counter romances.
Hey-o.
She used to be working, Grandma Kate used to be working as a bookkeeper for the butcher shop,
Yeah.
for the kosher butcher shop down the street. And at lunchtime, Auntie Annie, that was her sister, used to pack her a lunch. So she used to want a pickle to go with her lunch. So she used to walk down to the delicatessen that my father owned and stick her hand into the pickle barrel, look around for the biggest pickle, and pick out the biggest pickle, and it used to cost her a nickel to buy that pickle from Grandpa Sam. Well, he was so shy, he never said anything to her, but meanwhile, he never had a girlfriend, and he, you know, or anything, because he was from a kosher religious family, and his mother was already picking out from a broker what girl he should marry, you understand?
Yeah.
Because
Well, arranging.
amongst the Jewish families, after all, it was just after World War One,
So matchmaking
you
time.
understand?
Matchmaker time.
and Sarah, that was my grandmother, she wanted her son to marry a nice, rich, Jewish American girl. So my father sees my Kate coming in all the time to buy a pickle. So he says to her, this is the story my father tells me. I asked her one day, did she know anybody that would like a job? So she said to me, what kind of a job? So I said, somebody that could take cash for me up at the register and keep the books. So she said to me, how much do you pay? Will you pay? So he said, he thought and thought, $5 a week. Well, gee willikins, she was making $3.75 a week.
Well, last year's met.
That's a huge increase.
45% increase.
That was big money. You gotta understand that.
Smart lady.
So she looked at my father and she said, I'll take the job, but I have to give the butcher where I work right now, I have to give him notice. And then in 2 weeks, I can take the job. Well, my father was elated with that, because here he was in love with my mother, and he had never spoken 2 words to her.
I love it.
Do you follow that?
Yeah.
Through business, how did I get them?
Do you
My
remember?
plan is working.
Do you remember my father? He was very quiet,
No.
very reserved, very quiet.
He only came to the house once.
Yeah.
He was very quiet, very shy, very
How old
shy.
was that?
Yeah. I mean, he was the type of man, Katie, that when you introduced him to somebody or he knew somebody, a woman that he was passing on the street,
Yeah.
my father always wore a hat. And my father, from his upbringing, would always tip his hat to the woman.
Mm.
Oh, he would say to me, who we walking with, and I would think, that's Mrs. So-and-so, and I would bring them up to my father. This is my father. He would always tip his hat to the woman.
A distinguished gentleman.
That was courtesy.
He's very proper.
I love it.
That was courtesy of
Yeah.
men towards women.
But his father was not like that.
No,
No, his father was,
rough and tumble.
Who?
your grandfather, Sam's father.
Oh, he was a lady killer.
Oh,
My
He
mother
was a-
said he would
He
pinch
was
her
good
bottom.
looking. He was good looking. That's where Eugene gets his looks. My grandfather was a good looking man. My grandfather loved the women. Loved the woman. In fact, he wanted to leave
how was his
my
marriage?
grandmother. He wanted to leave her in Europe, in Poland. He didn't really want her to come over because when he went to America to find work and then to bring the family over, he heard that she was pregnant, and had given birth to a little girl, you understand? And the little girl died from diphtheria.
Oh,
He was so upset with my grandmother, Sarah, that he didn't want her to come to America. He wanted to divorce her.
Right.
He was so upset with her because he said she didn't feed that baby. I know her. She didn't feed that baby right. She didn't take good care of that baby.
she may be right, because tell the story now about
What?
coming to America. His sisters.
Oh. Grandma Sarah, mother, was here in America.
Hmm.
And she came here and she went to work at a Schwitz down on the Lower East Side.
You know what a Schwitz is?
Christine.
Yes.
And where they served only men at that time,
Hmm.
and they served the best steaks in town.
Steaks
So-
and steaks.
No. They
Sounds
grilled-
like a catchy name.
No, they grilled the steaks on gas burners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean steam
No,
steaks.
no, you steam
Ew.
and then you eat a steak.
No, you went into a room and they hit you with
The
eucalyptus.
Did the women hit them? The women were hitting them?
They hit them.
That's kind of kinky.
They hit them with
It was a
branches
fun time.
to stimulate the skin. So
Sure.
yeah, you've seen that.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that women were doing it.
No, yeah, Anyway, and then they would give them massages. Massage.
Sure.
Steam. It was over, and then they would go and eat a good steak dinner.
Yum.
And it was a whole big
There was a day.
to do.
That's
Yeah.
a day.
So my
Right.
great grandmother, that was my great grandmother.
Mm.
She made enough money to buy tickets to bring some of the family over to the United States.
Right.
And one of the people she sent the ticket for was Grandpa Sam. Grandpa Sam came over with an orange. He said he was sucking on an orange or a lemon. The whole trip he was down at the bottom of the boat. He said he was seasick.
Yeah,
On the
probably
minute,
a lemon.
minute he got on the boat, he wasn't the one that was sent back to Germany. I'll tell you the story of that.
What's
after.
that story?
My father came over to this country, and my great grandmother came to Ellis Island to pick him up.
Right.
That's how he came into this country. He came over with what my grandmother said, he came over with a landsman. That means that somebody from their village was with my father. They were sneaking my father out of Poland because at that time the Russian army was at war with Japan. That was the Japanese-Russian war.
What year was this?
All right? And the Russians had taken over most of Poland, and so they were picking up all the young Jewish boys to serve in the army. So when Grandpa was, 14 years of age, about 14 years of age, they wanted to get him out of the country and get him over to America. So they put him in a hay wagon, put the hay over him. One of the longsmen took the hay wagon out of the village, it was close to Warsaw, and they went through Germany, and Grandpa got on a ship in Holland. That's where they picked up the ship, in Holland, and from Holland they came over on the ship to Ellis Island. So now my great-grandmother comes and picks up my father at Ellis Island after he went through the quarantine and got examined to make sure he didn't have any disease on him. Then they let you through. But they had to go through all these terrible things over there until they let him in, So now I only know her as Bubba. I don't know what her real name was. Bubba Finkel, I think that was her name. Finkelstein.
So this is Grandpa's grandmother.
Yeah.
Grandpa's
So
grandmother.
now she takes him to her apartment, which was up in like the Bronx, She didn't live down on Canal Street or Broome Street in the Lower East Side, where the majority of Jewish immigrants lived because they were poor. So they lived down there. She already was making a little bit of money, so she remarried. She married a man by the name of Goldberg, see? And she was living uptown, do you understand, in an apartment. So my father goes into this apartment, and I remember my father
Wait, let me
saying-
ask you something. What happened to the original husband? What happened to
Oh,
Grandpa's?
he got gassed. He was inducted into the Russian army. They sent him out to the Japanese to fight the Japanese, and they were using gas at that time. He got gassed, and he was out of his skull he was just crazy. And she just left him in Europe and came to America without him. And when she came to America, she must have met another lunchman, and I don't know if they might have gotten a Jewish divorce, but I don't know what else transpired.
No one ever bothered to find out.
So my father comes into
Let's
this.
just get married.
My father comes into this apartment. He takes one look at the apartment, and remember, he came from like a village, there was like in Europe, God,
What
Here
kind
it
of,
comes.
wait, while you're saying that, when they were in Poland, did he ever say what they lived in? Did they live in a little house?
Well, Grandpa, well, if your father, then he must have been Grandpa Jacob. My grandfather
Your
was
grandfather,
Jacob
right.
Kaplan. Am I right?
Yes, that would be your grandfather.
He was a blacksmith, and he used to make guns for the Cossacks, and knives, swords. He was a very well-known blacksmith. He could make anything as a blacksmith. He was a great craftsman, and so he used to make. And Grandma used to be a cook for the kosher Jewish boys that were in service. She used to cook for them kosher meals,
Huh.
and that's how she earned some money.
Now that's
Okay.
Grandma Sarah?
That Grandma Sarah.
Okay. Your grandmother.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Didn't like her. None of us liked her.
And she's buried in Miami.
Yes,
Yes.
she died before Grandpa. She died before Grandpa. My father adored her, and my Aunt Eve adored her. And we as children all hated her.
You were probably scared of her.
She was so strict and so mean, but the only thing I liked, she made the best chocolate pudding.
So your grandparents
You
are,
gotta see.
wait, your grandparents are buried in Miami,
Yes,
right?
yeah. In the grave are my grandparents, Sarah and Jacob, and along with Sam and Kate, my parents, along with my Aunt Bertha is buried there, and my Uncle Arnold.
Uncle
Ozzy.
Arnold, Ozzy,
Arnold.
right?
Really.
Aunt Eve,
Aunt Eve is buried with her husband over in the Pythian. The Pythian.
it's the same cemetery.
There wasn't enough graves
Oh, it's not at Mount Sinai.
to add up how many graves there is. There's
And then
2,
Auntie Eve.
4,
Okay, wait.
5, 6.
All right, wait. We were in Poland. He was a blacksmith, a metalsmith,
Grandpa was.
right? And did you ever hear how they lived? Was it
Well,
was it attached to their blacksmithy thing?
They lived in a little village outside of Warsaw.
That's all you heard.
Outside of Warsaw.
Yeah.
And the Russian army came and took most of the time, confiscated part of Poland, and my mother's family, although my mother was born in America, your grandmother was born in America, she was born on the Lower East Side, and her family were from Poland also, but they were from a part called Galicia. I have a picture of that. I'll show you. I bought the map so you would have a map.
Galicia. I love the name of that. I've heard it. And okay. I don't want to throw you off.
Wait, what's it called?
And
Galicia.
Is the name of
Galicia.
town?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How glitzy, right?
You gotta understand the reason.
I'm gonna
The
look for it.
people that came from the northern part, from Russia, didn't like the people that came from Poland. They called them
Oh my God, more racist.
horse thieves. They called them. They looked down upon the Galicianas. That's what they call them.
Yeah.
Oh, your mother,
Jews.
your mother is a Galiciana.
What do they call it? That's a word? Glitzy?
Galicia. Was that
What's
part
it mean?
GLGA.
Was that part of Romania? I think that was lower southern part of Poland. So that must have been close. So next was near Hungary. It must have been near Hungary. What is it near Hungary?
Southeast Poland, Western Ukraine.
The Lithuania.
So
The
the first one to come to America was your great grandmother.
My great grandmother came first.
And her name was,
She married.
no, her first
Her
name.
maiden name was Finkelstein.
Her maiden name was, her
Finkelstein
maiden name.
was Finkelstein. Yeah. My grandma Sarah maiden name was
So then she became a
Finkelstein.
Kaplan, and then she became a Goldberg.
No, she became a Kaplan and that was it. She never married a second time.
Wait, your great grandmother married some guy in New York, you
My
said.
great grandmother married a second time.
Goldberg.
She married Goldberg.
And that's so interesting because I did one of those DNA things, and I just got some back results from Goldberg.
Real, and you would never know.
And I'm like, I don't know any Goldbergs.
Well,
Wait, what happened?
and wait a minute.
You had
Grandma Goldberg is buried somewhere in Brooklyn. I do not. Elaine knew where she was buried, and she was supposed to take me to the graveyard where she was buried.
Okay, Marilyn, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna give you a DNA test. We're all gonna take
I
with
think
this.
that's a great idea.
We're all gonna do a DNA test.
Because I've got so
You
many
got
different
all You got different
strained the
DNA.
blood in
Yeah.
me. My
right.
father used to say to me, when he used to look at me, he used
23andMe?
to say, "You don't look anything like your sisters. You look like your brother."
23andMe, I think, is the best one, isn't it?
I don't know.
You know, when my mother said when I was being born,
I did one, but I didn't really particularly like
do you
the
know what
company.
my mother said?
What?
When I was being, and when my head came out of her poo-poo, she said, she looked down and she said, "Oh my God, another Eugene." She said, "You looked exactly like your brother even when you were born."
You're just like Gene.
Well, she told me that when she saw me being born, she said, "Oh my God, I've got another Eugene," because she was in love with my brother.
All right, I don't think we should go there.
You know that. No, I mean it. I've got a picture of my mother with her boyfriend. I showed it to you. Want me to show? I'll show it to her.
Well, okay.
Really. My father was so happy when she came back from Florida.
How old was she when she gave birth to Gene? 20?
Not 18.
This is a privately owned one because 23andMe is a big pharma corporation.
She married my father when she was 18. My mother was born in 1895, May 6th, because Aunt Eva's May 6th also. They were both more, they say have the same birthday,
Wow, they're
May
both May
6th.
6th. No wonder they were so close.
May 6th,
Isn't that cool?
and
They
Betty,
they really did get along too, didn't
and
they?
Betty was born the 18th.
Didn't they really get along?
They were loved one another.
Right. You know, I mean, I never thought. I mean, I was a baby basically when this was going on. You know, I would go down there, but the vibe at Cappy's, I always loved going back there because everybody got along.
Yes.
Is Cappy still around?
Everybody got along, yeah. My mother, all the men loved my mother. My mother was loved by all the firemen, all the taxi drivers, all the police in Long Beach. My mother was adored by all the men. And when the war broke out, and all the sailors were living in barracks on the former golf courses of the Lido Hotel. They had built barracks out there. They used to come into Cappy's and they used to say to my mother, "Mama Kay, I don't have any money until my money comes in from the government." What were they getting? $72 a month or something like that? So they used to say, "I have no money," you know. So they used to say, "I'll leave you my pea coat, and can I get $5 until I get my money from the government?" So my mother used to take the pea coat, put it in the back bathroom. We used to have bathrooms, the men's room and the ladies' room. She took the ladies' room and made it into a closet. And all the boys that used to want to come in for money, they used to leave their pea coats. She had stacks of pea coats back in that bathroom, the likes, she must have had 50 of them at a time. And she used to have a cigar box behind the bar where she used to put their names on a piece of paper and put it in the cigar box, and it used to say how much they got for their pea coat. And Grandma used to put down $5, $10, whatever, and take their pea coat as.
So it was Grandma who trained me how to do book work, how to work in an office. And she taught me the old-fashioned way of everything was preserved, every folder, if it was used, how to make it so it, you know, you could use it again, you know,
Right.
putting tape on it and this,
Right.
reusing everything.
Yeah.
And that's the way I learned. There was no other way. And when I started going into an office where there were people were just
Grandma
throwing things
Kate.
around, I was like,
Well, Grandma Kate would roll up all the money, like you get 50 pennies, you put them all together in a tube.
Right,
Well,
we would roll lots of
and
coins.
roll it up and stack and stack.
Maybe do that.
You'd have $2 worth of
A
nickels.
lot.
You roll it all up.
We did it too.
Stack it. All right, what do you want to know?
I remember I did, Mom made me do that.
Anything you
Wait,
want
wait,
to know.
all right, so we were talking about Fran and Jean, and they met in a
My
bar.
Fran and Jean met at Cappy's bar. Then Jean used to love the horses, and he and his friend Archie, he used to have a friend that was that wide. His name was Archie. He was a bookie.
Ah,
Archie Diskin.
Yeah. Ah, you remember? see?
Sure.
All right. They used to go to all the racetracks. Honey, take it with you. You don't have to take it over there, put it there, and you can, okay. So
jelly beans.
they used to go to all the racetracks. And in the summertime, they used to have the auction of the horses up in Saratoga.
Mm.
It was for the 2-year-olds, the 2-year-old horses. When people who wanted to invest in racehorses would have a chance to buy a 2-year-old at a cheaper price in hopes that they were going to get a decent racehorse out of it.
Right.
So all the people that were on the horse business used to go to Saratoga. And your mother and my brother, somehow or another, ended up in Saratoga. I don't know who went first or how your mother got there. I don't know any of the story.
I know that's where they took their honeymoon, was Saratoga.
See,
Yeah.
and they got married.
They got
up
married
there.
in quiet, you know.
They got married up there.
Because she was pregnant with Barry,
Mhm.
and that was a big no-no, you know.
And
So
then
they-
they came back, and my father said you never got married by the rabbi.
So they had two weddings.
So back to Aunt Thelma's apartment we all went, and with a rabbi and a Jewish thing,
Ceremony.
and they got married at
Okay.
Aunt Thelma's apartment. Aunt Thelma had a magnificent apartment,
Always.
all with French furniture,
Mm.
silk and gold and hand paint. I remember as a young girl.
Lots of
I remember.
aquamarine blues or turquoise blues.
I did lavenders and blues
Hmm.
and aquas.
And she would
I
always have
remember.
like pansies
I
growing
remember,
on the.
I
on the-
remember beautiful. And your Aunt Thelma was a blonde, just like your grandmother. And your grandmother Frances and Aunt Thelma loved one another dearly.
Mm.
And they were of the same personality.
Yes.
And they loved to dance. And they should have been actresses, really.
Comedians.
Because they were both very talented speakers, and they were both beautiful women. They both were beautiful women.
Mm.
Your Aunt Thelma had blue eyes, I remember, bluish eyes, and your mother had like hazel color eye, right?
Wow.
Right.
And your grandmother had bluish eyes,
Right.
Well,
right? And your Aunt Miriam had dark eyes, that I remember correctly. And Aunt Miriam was a talented painter, and she also played the piano. And when they lived in New York City, in a Broadway apartment, they lived in an apartment in New York City off of Broadway and about 72nd Street in Broadway. I remember going up to their apartment, and it was gee willing, it was just when Frances and Jean, I don't know if they were married then or what, but I remember going up there with your mom, and they had a big piano in the apartment. I remember that so well.
And you were like 13 then?
Huh?
You were about 13 at the time?
If it was 1933, I was 13, yeah.
No.
I
It was.
don't-
It had to be. they got married. Barry was born in 1943. So
So it was a wartime. Then Jean was in the service. Because Jean got sick in the service, you know. Yeah, Jean got, I don't know whether it was pneumonia or something, but I remember going with my mother to one of the islands outside of New York City where the Navy had a hospital, and we went to see Jean there because he was sick, and my mother was carrying chicken soup and Jell-O for him because he was so sick, and she was taking food to him because he was sick. Now, I don't know if he was having ulcers
came later.
So it must have been pneumonia that he had, because he was so sick at that hospital, I remember. And I was a young girl, and my mother was taking me into New York City. I remember that. She said, come on, we'll go see your brother. See? And she took your grandmother, your great-grandmother, was a type of a woman that had a mink coat, but wouldn't wear the mink coat in front of her help. Because she never wanted her help to feel that she was making so much money that she could afford a mink coat. So if we
That
went,
is Jewish guilt to the max.
she used to put the mink coat in a 10-cent box inside the train station. They had these boxes, you put 10 cents in, and you turned a key, and you took the key out, and the box locked, right?
Right.
She used to go and put her mink coat inside that and lock it, and then go to work.
Oh
And
my
if we
God.
had to go to New York City, or we're going somewhere special, she used to have a camel's hair coat, a double-breasted camel's hair coat.
Switch it out.
She would take that off, put the mink coat on, and put the camel's hair coat in
We're
there.
going out.
That's it.
My stepping out coat.
And you take the, and put a dime in, turn the key.
This is the city, and she lives in Long Beach, which is how long? Like an
I mean,
hour.
I got this concept.
An hour's drive.
I understand.
Oh, you were there.
55 miles to New York City.
Wow.
But I get it. I mean, like, that's very doable if they still had those boxes around.
She
I would leave stuff in there. I would be like, ooh, my little locker.
what?
I got my own little locker. Leave,
Katie
like,
loves the idea. She's
put
like
up
right into that big
deodorant,
idea.
hairbrushes, like a whole little
You
spa.
used to put things
I
in
love
one
this
of those?
idea. I love
So
her.
that locker,
I'm with her
You're a
in
lock-
spirit.
you're a locker lady.
Yeah.
You got her name.
Well, that was pardon me, that was the kind of lady your great-grandmother was.
Oh.
You'll have her plates too.
What do you want?
You'll have her plates. You've got her name and her plates.
Her nameplates.
Her dishes.
Oh, yeah. All I can say is she and Joni's mother, Eva,
Mm-hmm.
Eva used to call my mother for everything. My mother was like a nurse to everybody. Everybody, when they got sick, used to call my mother. My mother
A
knew
healer.
every remedy
A
you could-
healer.
to make you well. If
I
your
love
feet
it.
hurt,
Charcoal.
or if you had a boil, she knew what to mix up with
I love that.
with mustard,
The kitchen
and
witch.
would put mustard plaster on your chest to get rid of the cough. And if your feet were bad, you used to have to soak your feet in Epsom salt.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
Katie, all I can say is, you with your remedies in yoga and everything,
I love it.
you're a carryover from Katie Kaplan.
I want to tell you something. I thought about this while you
What?
were talking before.
What is it, sweetie?
That Grandma Kate
Yes.
made me feel very good about myself.
Because she was that kind of lady.
She really and truly, she listened to me,
Yes.
and I always had like wacky ideas, like, you know,
Candy
different,
Land,
weird.
there it is.
Yes,
Yeah, and she never just like, oh yeah, that's fine, or you know,
no, she
she really
listened.
wanted to know,
She
Yeah.
always listened.
and she would participate with me.
Cute.
You know, like I was working at Miami Cordage when I decided to go on a macrobiotic diet, and she would cook these weird meals with me at Miami Cordage.
She's
To the
Israel.
point, yeah, so sweet, right?
No,
No,
she,
really.
she was a type of a lady. She wasn't a makeup lady. The only makeup she put on was, she eyelined, oh God, I used to hate it. She used to take a dark eyebrow pencil and used to, I'd say, Mom, you don't have to do that. Marilyn, that's all she would say. Marilyn. I said, okay.
Eyebrows were very important back in those days.
Lipstick,
Some little blush.
and then she would always go to the beauty parlor.
Yeah.
And she hated the fact that I had straight hair.
She
she
gave
would
me
always
perms. She gave me perms.
And she sent
How old were
me
you when you got
up
your
to get a
first perm?
permanent. She would send me, and they would
5.
put these metal things on my head and burn my hair.
Oh my God, I look like a poodle.
Oh, I used to come out.
Huh?
This is Grandma Katie.
Then
She'd
they-
take me to the beauty parlor and they'd give me a
across the
perm.
street.
Because I had, my hair was so straight.
Yeah,
they thought
and
that
I
was
had
bad.
straight hair. You see? And I had straight
The
hair.
tighter the curl, the closer
And
you
then,
got.
and then they would wet my hair and cut my bangs, and then
Yes.
they would dry with the perm, so the bangs were here.
Gotta love
Well,
it!
and I was, and she'd do the same thing to me. Or else.
Actually,
or else,
Marilyn and I really, as babies, we look kind of like each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, we had Auntie Anne living with us. See, so when Elaine was 20 years of age, and Betty was still, Elaine was.
Oh my God, Auntie Anne is a
Elaine
great story.
and
Wait,
Betty
wait.
used to fight like cats and dogs.
Wait.
Auntie Anne.
Auntie Anne is Grandma Kate's sister, and they
Auntie
were
Anne-
orphans.
What happened?
Their mother died, and the father left them in a
deserted
Jewish
them,
orphanage,
put them in the Hebrew orphanage.
and left and went to England and never came back.
Down in the Lower East Side, there's still a Hebrew orphanage down there. He just dumped.
What? What year was that?
There were
What do you think?
What year was Grandma born?
1895.
Okay, and how old was she when? What,
She
her-
was
what did her mother
about-
die of?
She was about 5 or 6 years of age when Auntie Anne took her.
Man, people
Auntie
are
Anne
ruthless.
was
Wait.
40.
What? How did her mother die?
in childbirth.
Oh, and what was her mom's name? Do you know?
Started with an F and I can't remember. Faye or something like, no, it started with an R, because that's why Shelley's name is Rochelle, because I remember her name started with an R. So, but I don't know. Rochel.
Well, my middle initial is an F. They didn't know what to call me, so somebody had an F in their name.
So maybe her name was Fagala. I don't know.
That was my Hebrew name.
I
But
don't-
anyway, so now they're in an orphanage, right? The father is English, and the mother.
Her father went and married an English woman and moved to England. Understand?
Yeah.
This is before World War II broke out with America. So he
Wait,
went.
this is before World War One.
One was
Well, get me,
14 to
get my
19.
dates, and then I'll be able to pick
Yeah,
it up. from there.
this is World War One. That would be
1914.
1914.
All right. So if my mother was born in 1895, and she met my father when she was 17, say,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to figure what
This is just a
she
few
would
years
be.
after.
So around 1905, 1910, 1912.
And your father was born in 1914?
Yes.
So she met my father when she was what, 17?
Yeah, but go back to the orphanage. So Auntie Anne is older than Kate.
by 5 years.
And she becomes eligible to leave the orphanage.
Okay.
She marries the first cousin.
So she married her cousin.
In order for her to take our
Where was his cousin?
Yeah,
Wait
where
a
was
minute,
this
wait a
cousin?
minute, let me-
Ooh, all of a sudden there's a cousin to marry?
Wait a minute, let me backtrack for you.
Where did you come from?
My mother had a sister named Anne.
Okay.
She had a brother named David. She had a brother named Morris and a brother named Louis.
Oh.
Okay? David and Louis were in the service and they were older. Morris, my mother, he had blonde hair and blue eyes. I had a picture of him somewhere and I don't know where it is.
Oh, she loved him too.
So he came,
I can know the look on Marilyn's face.
all right, he came out during Prohibition and worked as a rum runner for the Prohibition guy. And he was shot dead by a gang in Brooklyn.
Holy shit.
And my Aunt Anne saw it in the newspaper, in the Mirror. It was listed, his name, Morris Fleischer, because that was my mother's maiden name, Fleischer.
Mm-hmm.
So she saw the name Morris Fleischer in the obituary in the New York Mirror, Auntie Anne did. And she didn't want to tell my mother because my mother was madly in love with her brother.
Aw.
He was handsome. He
Aw.
was really handsome. Blonde hair.
Now, this is when they're still in the orphanage?
No.
So no one bothered to
No.
try to tell them.
Okay, so the question we're asking is, Auntie Anne married her first cousin,
Itchula.
Itchula.
No, not Itchula. Louis.
Louis.
Okay, so where was Louis during all
All right.
the orphanage years?
Auntie Anne, all right, is
Yeah.
5 years older than my mother.
Right.
All right. My mother was left in the orphanage.
But why were they in
Wait.
the orphanage anyway?
Because, oh yeah, she wants to know why didn't the cousins?
Why did the cousins pick up the
Because-
kids?
Why? Because there wasn't enough food to go
They
around.
couldn't. Yeah.
All
It's
right.
hard. How
It-
there were
it
so
was-
many.
it was-
How many kids were there?
You got to remember, they were born down on Canal Street. My mother was born down on Canal Street or Broome
Wow.
Street, one of those. She was born in an apartment down in the Lower East Side, and my Aunt Anne saw my mother go into the orphanage by her father,
Mm.
and her father took off with this English woman for England and left them. So my Aunt Anne wanted to get my mother, that was the only one that was left in the orphanage because the baby had died with her mother. So she wanted to get my mother, who was the only other relative out of the orphanage. So they told her the only way that you can get her out is if you're married.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
So she went to the family, and the family said, well, you can marry one of your cousins, you understand, who was named Louis, but you can never have children because the bloodline is too close and you can't have children. And that was told to my Aunt Anne when she married Louis. Then when Louis died,
Well, the royals do it all the time.
see, and then when Louis died, she married his brother Itchula. She married Louis first, and then married Itchula. Is she making a record of war?
I'm doing back research about things that are striking in my
Okay.
imagination.
When
right
she
now.
married Itchula, all right,
Yeah.
and after Itchula died, she came to live with us.
Ah.
Just about after. She stayed a little while by herself, and then she came to live with my mom.
In Miami.
She came to live with us in Long Beach first, and
Oh,
then-
these guys didn't last very long.
Huh?
These cousins.
Louis didn't,
Wait, what happened?
Well, even Itchula, he didn't let. I remember Itchula though.
yeah, God, I don't remember the year. You'd have to,
Well, Grandma came to live in Miami before.
Grandma came to live in Miami to help Uncle Ben with his
Fruit stand?
restaurant on Ocean Drive.
Right. Now that was 1935.
Was
I-
that fruit stand
36.
restaurant? Or is that another-
1936.
I came with them.
Was
Right.
that the same fruit stand?
And Auntie.
No, that's the fruit that was right next to the Prime 112.
This was next to Pride 112?
Yeah. Well, next to the Brown Hotel.
Cool.
Yeah,
was a
that
gas-
there was a garage there.
That's where they stayed anyway. He was a little bit further south.
Yeah, there was an apartment above the garage
What year was this?
with an outdoor staircase and a one-bedroom apartment over the gas garage.
What year was this?
1936.
And went with my Aunt Anne and my mother down to Florida to take care of Uncle Ben's restaurant called Cappy's. And Auntie was in charge of the hot dog grill that was in the window of the restaurant. And people that used to pass used to watch Auntie Anne making hot dogs on the grill.
She was this big.
And I went to South Beach Elementary, see? And lived in the apartment with them. We had 2 beds in this one room. And we didn't have a kitchen, only a big sink, you know. And Auntie used to make my breakfast on an old-fashioned toaster that had 2 sides that came up. You never
Yeah.
see the old-fashioned toaster?
Uh-huh.
That one side comes up and the other. Well, she used to
Like a
put
press.
a frying pan on top of the toaster and cook my cereal.
It's
or
like
my
a press
eggs.
that you put into like a hot slot.
Yeah, and she used
Yeah.
to use it like an electric stove. She used to put it right on top of the toaster and cook my breakfast on top of that. And then
There's like a burger place in New Haven where they cook.
It
They still have
sounds
those
like
vertical
what's his-
ovens and they cook
it
burgers
sounds
that
like,
way.
what's his name?
Chop Chuck.
What was that Jewish guy that wrote all those wonderful stories about the boy from Flatbush? That Jewish.
Shel Silverstein?
No, it's a Jewish writer.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Shut.
He wrote about
going.
2 or 3 plays for Broadway. The name will come to me. Anyway.
Oh, I know who you mean.
They made movies even about.
Yes.
Like a boy from Flatbush, a boy from Brooklyn, or.
And the Odd Couple too, wasn't he? Did
Yeah.
that? Neil, not Neil, but whatever. Go
Well,
ahead.
don't think it, it'll come right to you.
It's a train.
So, anyway, it was during that time that they used to have a dog track down there. They had a dog track down in that area at the very end of Ocean Drive. The very end of
Yeah,
Ocean
Flagler
Drive.
Dog Track.
They had a man.
And there was a pier with burlesque on
Correct.
the pier.
Minsky's.
Minsky's Burlesque.
And I used to know all the burlesque people because I used to be wandering the streets because there was nobody to take care of me. So I used to walk up and down the street.
Wait a minute, you were like
Really?
13 already, right?
What?
How old were you then?
6, 7 years of age. My mother, I don't know how I.
Miami Beach was like just a big sandbox there. Look, at 5 years old, wasn't I taking a bus down to Grandma's
Well,
store?
we all
Nobody
did.
took care of me.
No, all of us were brought
So
up
you
like
get on
that.
the bus. The driver's like, "Oh, a baby, here we go."
My grandmother would give me
but-
instructions
but-
of what to
but
say to the
Katie,
bus driver.
We were all brought up like
I
that.
know, that's hilarious.
I
It's like
mean,
he knows, he's like, all right, I got you.
Nobody would
child.
grab us, you know.
Yeah,
You know, we would take the jitney into Miami. I know, I was a kid. My mother used to give me $0.25 for the jitney. You understand? You used to go to a jitney stop.
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
And you used to pay the guy $0.25, and he used to take you into Miami.
It's so funny, I mean, it's 50 cents now, so.
That's it.
It's,
No, it's like $1.50.
I mean,
Still.
you gotta remember, and you gotta remember, our family was so diversified into so many different businesses
Yeah.
that I was forever having to be taught a different way and a different bus to take. And we had a hotel up called the Stevens Hotel on 63rd Street and Ocean Drive. That was for 2 years. And then there was the Gear Hotel that was run by the Kaufman clan, and that was on Michigan or Meridian Boulevard and between 5th and 6th Street. Remember that one?
no, I don't remember any of those.
No. And the soldiers were staying there during the war years. And then there was the 2 hotels on the bay, the Fleetwood.
Okay,
and
so
the-
this
and the
was
Flamingo.
1936, that you came down to help Uncle Ben with his cappies, but then you went back to Long Beach, and then when did Grandma move back to Miami Beach?
All right,
So
let
you
me
left
just
in
think a
39.
minute.
Because we moved here in 1949 to Miami Beach, but I think they were already here.
Wait a minute.
I'm not sure if they
Wait
were
a
already
minute.
here.
I came down first with my father and Uncle Irving Kaufman. Aunt Eve was already down here running the Gear Hotel
And where was the gear?
on Meridian or Michigan. I don't know, off of 6th Street.
Huh.
All right? And, cause I remember they still had that hotel, the Kaufman, when I met Alan, because I remember Alan staying at the Gear Hotel, and I remember my mother playing poker in the card room with all the people. My mother, your grandmother, great-grandmother, was the best card player. The best card player.
She could, and she shuffle and,
She could have been a dealer.
oh yeah.
And if you want to know how your grandfather knew everything, learn it from his mother. My father knew nothing about gambling. My mother was the best.
So good.
All right, I learned it from my brother and my mother. That's why I was surrounded by them.
Oh, I mean, I brought my Magic City hat for you.
Oh,
It's
wait a minute.
inspired.
Your grandmother, I'm going to tell you a story about
Actually, I
your
don't want to leave this hat with you.
Your
I brought you a hat.
grandmother was the greatest MC that ever walked the stages of the Laurel Theater.
Yeah.
During the war years, everybody had to go out and try and buy war bonds. They had them in dimensions of $25, $50, $100, $500, okay?
Mm.
A $25 bond cost you $18.75. If you cashed it in 10 years, you kept it and cashed it in 10 years, you would get $25 for it. That's how it went.
Yeah.
If you bought a $50 one, it was $37.50. And if you kept it for 10 years, you would get $50. Now I'm talking about your grandmother. During the war years, my brother's off in the Pacific Ocean by that time. And you were born, your brother was born, yes you were,
I wasn't born until 47.
47?
Barry was
Just
born.
Barry
Right. And maybe Michael.
and Michael.
Right.
And Michael was born.
And Shelley.
Oh God. She was even a crybaby then. In fact, a Gerson just asked me on my cell phone, did I know where she lived? Aaron Gerson, and I said, no. I don't know anything about her, I don't know where.
So
Like
you
Aaron
were
Gerson.
selling,
Like
So
you,
let me finish the story.
No.
Aaron,
All right.
Okay.
Now, they're selling bonds.
Wasn't he?
It's a bond rally. Everybody's, before the movie starts, everybody come, we're gonna have a bond rally. And they would have a couple of tap dancers and a couple of people that would sing, and then your grandmother would take over the microphone.
that's my mother, Frances.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to buy bonds. Who's gonna buy a $50 bond amongst all you wonderful people sitting in the audience? How many $50 bonds do I have? And people would be running up and down the aisle, taking your name, you know, and your grandmother was up on the microphone. And with this gorgeous face, all right, and she's walking up and down the stage, and
I think she was pregnant with Barry too.
Frances was pregnant with Barry
Right.
on a mic.
and she
With a coat with a big safety pin.
A safety pin. She always,
Big
she
fur
never,
coat-
she
fur
never
coat.
could sew a button. She used to put a safety pin. All her fur coats had safety pins on. Candy, she's the only woman I knew that wore a Persian coat with a safety pin in front of it.
Like a big one.
She wore a black Persian coat during her pregnancy with a big safety pin holding it together.
I love it.
She never would sew anything. Everything was a
What is Persian anyway?
What, honey?
What
Makes.
animal is a Persian
Persian lamb.
lamb?
Uh,
It's that close woolly look.
It's wavy.
It's wavy. It's gorgeous. It's all silky
That's
and wavy.
caracal. No, the wavy one is caracal. And the one with tight little curls is
It's a
Persian.
Persian.
And you could get them in black and you could get them in gray. They used to come in two shades. Aunt Elaine had a gray one.
So because we were still, even though my grandfather had died and his brother had taken over
We
the
all had
business,
it, we all had
my-
it in the garden.
there was always furs in the family.
Highline. Or, no,
No,
not
no,
Highline.
no. This was Jalkov.
Jug off.
Mike Jalkov, that was your uncle.
Right.
And wait a minute, let me try and remember your other uncle's name. Molly's brother's name,
Brother or husband?
brother.
I mean, brother.
Were they in the
Herman.
fur trade or were
Herman.
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 Molly had a brother, Herman.
Herman.
What was his last name?
It wasn't Jalkov.
No, of course not. But I didn't realize that she had a brother.
That was her brother.
And he was in the fur business too?
Yes.
So would they buy and sell furs, or were they involved
Oh,
in fur making business?
I got a mink coat and I got a
No,
mouton.
originally, my grandfather Abraham
Was
came from
president.
Russia.
He was president of the fur industry.
He originally came as a teenager from Russia with his brother and brought sable pelts to the city.
Right.
Oh,
brought
it
them
was
with it.
really something to watch them work. I was,
And
when
they would
I
make
was a
coats.
younger,
They would sell
it's
the
really something to watch the furriers. I had the privilege of going into the workroom where they lay out the pelts and they match the pelts and they hammer the pelts and then they take tape to hold the pelts together before they start forming it into a shape for a coat or a jacket or
That's
whatever.
meant so they actually made coats.
yes. Do you know the story? Do you know any more of the story about Abraham and his brother? Who is his brother?
Who?
Mike. So it was Abraham and Mike. They both came from Russia as teenagers.
That's right.
They brought sable pelts in. And what did they do when they got here? Did they stay or they went back and forth or what did they do?
Mike was in the business when you were a kid. Mike was in the business.
I know. So okay, so they just started a business here and started making coats right away.
Yeah, because your
Jalkov furs.
your grandfather, your,
Abraham,
he was president of the fur industry.
yes.
Because I remember your grandmother telling me the story about him, that he was so well known and loved by all the people in the fur industry, and he was president, and he was a handsome looking guy.
Yes,
Boy, was he handsome,
yes.
really, really and truly. That picture of your grandmother in that wedding dress, I'll never forget it. She was gorgeous in that wedding dress. And then there was a picture of your Aunt Thelma.
Yeah,
in
I don't
her
know if I
wedding
have a
dress.
picture of my grandmother in a wedding dress.
Yeah, but there was a picture of both of them.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Your mother had both of them. I can't tell you.
Do you have any more of her pictures, my mom? Any of the picture
I'm
albums?
sure of that.
You
I'm
have,
sure-
you might have an album. So, but anyway, so, okay, so they came in, they started this business, and then lo and behold, he
I don't
marries,
even- where-
he
I don't-
marries
where-
grandma.
where did- Where did Thelma meet?
How did he meet Molly?
I don't know how Molly met.
Abraham. Abraham and Molly got
I don't
married.
know how they got
And
married.
they had Selma, Miriam, and Francis.
Yeah, but where did they meet one another? Do you ever hear the story where they met one?
I don't even know anything about Molly. I don't know where I know she was born in America, but I don't know anything else about
It's just
her.
like Kate was born in America.
Right.
Understand? Getting back to Grandpa. Grandpa's hair, see the color of my hair?
Mm-hmm.
That he had white hair. His hair was white. And
My hair is
when
whiter
I
than
used to,
Marilyn's.
when I used to pass him, when I was
Isn't
in,
it?
when I passed,
Yeah, her hair is more blonde.
Yeah.
when I used to pass him, and he used to be sitting, he's a pinchman.
This is who? Your
Me,
your
Grandpa.
grandfather.
He used to give me a pinch.
Oh yeah, he did the same thing to my mother, which was highly inappropriate.
Oh, well, he used to love, he used to love giving
Its
a,
future granddaughter-in-law.
he used to pinch us all. He used
Stop.
to give us a pinch, but he was such a, he came up,
Huh?
he came up to the apartment when we lived on Michigan Avenue, in an apartment upstairs. This is before I married Alan. He came to visit me.
All right, Mayor, I'm going to stop this for now.
Oh, I don't know what you,